Good morning, early game crew. Reaction Monday has come and gone, but it's time for Upon Further Review Tuesday. There's really no way to make some cool alliteration out of that, I'm afraid.
No, that's not a great one.
Tape Tuesday?
Watch the Tape Tuesday? Maybe we found something.
I think
live brainstorming here. Watch the Tape Tuesday.
We just had some live workshopping going on. Watch the Tape Tuesday. I like it. So, we can dub Tuesdays during football season as Watch the Tape Tuesday.
Watch the Tape Tuesday. Yeah, there we go. I like it. One of my coaches, we used to have, it was TA Tuesday and Tough A Tuesday. We had that one.
Okay.
That was one that we had. That was because Tuesday was a big time work day as far as the week is concerned. Because a lot of times your schedule works out. You'll have either Sunday or Monday off. And I think Shane and those guys right now, they do Mondays off. So they come back and practice on Sunday. Mondays off. Tuesday is a big time work day.
Yeah. And so they have a big time work day today. Shane will also be speaking. He'll be speaking as well.
Tuesday's a big time work day. It's a lot of your physical corrections, game planning. It's a pretty big day as far as the workload is concerned for the week.
And it is for us too.
Yeah.
I'm Elijah Campbell. He's Preston Thorne. She's Jen Jensen. And we'll start with just what we noticed upon further review. And I've got a few things here. And for the most part, I feel like my priors are confirmed. Most of the things that I thought after the game on Saturday night, I still felt after watching the game afterwards. But maybe just a couple of adjustments, like the turning point, right? And I think the turning point of the interception thrown in the first half was maybe a bigger deal than it felt at the time, just obviously knowing what I know. But the game situation of it being tied at 7, both defenses kind of figured it out for a second. They finally got each other off the field, each other's offense off the field. But you have a chance to score, go up 14-7 late in the second quarter, well, midway through the second quarter, because Vanderbilt on their touchdown drive did milk 5 minutes off the clock. But when you're playing Vanderbilt,
I think that's important.
Be prepared to have your offense on the sideline for a little bit. But it was your next to last possession of the half. If you turn that into 7 points and Vanderbilt scores, it's just different pressure on you on the drive. Now, Lenore got hurt on that drive at the very end of the half, but that could have happened with it being a 14-all game. And they were moving the ball, too. The only drive in the first half where South Carolina didn't was they get a first down, and then you have an illegal formation, and then you have a bad snap, and then a couple things that lead to you having a 3rd and 33, which is something I think I would deem to be non-convertible, right?
Don't have that one on the play chart. I'm sure Mike Schuler doesn't look at the chart and say, 3rd and 33, what do we got here? Let's run a whole set. Put the 3rd and 33 package in.
I'm sure he didn't stand on the sideline and go, which one of my 3rd and 33 plays do I want to run? No, I don't think that was a conversation he had with any of his assistants or to himself.
No, that's not what he ends up doing at that point. It's also important to note that turning point with the pick is because of the way Vandy plays. And if you get Vandy in a chase position earlier in the game, they're going to stay consistent. They're going to run their plays and things of that nature. But they are inherently a team that likes to prefer to play with a nice little bit of a cushion so that they don't have to rush, so that they can eat the clock, so that they can take time of possession. And that plays right into what they want to do as far as the game is concerned. So that did change the temperature of the game.
And then on that play specifically, Clark Lee told Cole Kublik, because now I get to watch it with the TV sound, right? Cole Kublik did report during the game that play that Clark Lee told him when they intercepted the ball is just designed to take away all safety valves once they get into the red zone. Like that is a coaching thing that Vanderbilt does. Is they go into those coverages to just try to take away like safety valve plays, which is why when you watch a replay too, you see that Donovan Murph kind of out in the flat was open, and you also had, I think it was Jordan Dingle who had a beat. I guess there was man coverage right there. He had a beat on the man covering him in the end zone. If Lenore Smith just throws it across the middle and leads him a little bit, Jordan Dingle's probably either falling in the end zone with the ball in his hands or it's overthrown or whatever, but you still live to play another play. That play specifically for Vanderbilt, that was another coaching win for Vanderbilt on Saturday night where they were prepared to at least take away some of the safety valves, and take away that pass, because I think they might have figured out that's what they would want to run in a red zone situation when the field does shorten up a little bit.
Yeah, and I can't reiterate how often that call is made, not often, and how often when it is made, it does not work.
No.
Because the nose guard drops the ball inherently because he's a nose guard. That's not what he does. He doesn't do that for a living. And so he's there, his eyes get wide, the ball hits him in his hands, he drops it, he hits his helmet, everybody takes a deep breath, and then we go in and score. That's an alternative universe that happens all the time.
Or they have to actually cover somebody in space, right? Or
yeah, right.
The running back who's running that route ends up getting passed on to them, and then they have an actual coverage responsibility.
Yeah, and it's not happening.
And that's not happening.
Yeah, it's not happening. So it was so ironic that we just had that conversation off air about that, and I personally said I think it's a waste of time to ever drop a defensive line because it doesn't work, and lo and behold, it worked.
And we found an example in which it works. I think we used the example of James Harrison is when it actually works.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, yeah, it might work if you have James Harrison, who's just a freak athlete at his size.
We just had that conversation. Let me ask you this: on tape Tuesday, I think sometimes the tape confirms, denies your priors, et cetera, et cetera. And this is not getting into Garnet Goggles, which we will get to. But after watching the tape, do you feel better or do you feel worse about this loss? Because that's what tends to happen about when you watch tape.
It might sound crazy. I think I felt a little better. I like
that's probably the best tone.
You can only feel so good about a 31-7 loss, especially to a team that you've beaten 16 straight years.
Mm-hmm.
But hear me out here. I think some of the offensive struggles with Lenore Sellers at quarterback were seemingly rectified going into that. I mean, if Lenore's is healthy, you go into halftime and you say, hey, look, we moved the ball up and down the field. Now, who knows what would have happened on that last drive, but you were able to move the ball up and down the field. Let's fix up some of the stuff we were doing in the red zone. When we get to the red zone, let's do something different. I think you're an adjustment like that away from being in that game, and it is a tight ball game. Whether or not you still win is completely out of the question. I can't even begin to answer that because it is such a hypothetical, because it's just a different football game. I do like what they did offensively, right? It was not as much designed run from Lenore's as I would have liked, because that's what makes him really good. But if you watch some of the ways they got into the Vanderbilt side of the field on those drives, Lenore's picked Vanderbilt apart. I mean, the guy almost got to 100 yards on only 6 completions because they were gashing them, right? He looked a lot more comfortable in the pocket. His feet were better. Against South Carolina State, it looked like he had happy feet, right? Like his feet were moving around a lot. It almost felt jittery watching it. Like if I drink too many of these 20-ounce Red Bulls right here before a certain time, if I end up just crushing these bad boys, yeah, I get a little jittery and a little wiry. But it felt like he was a lot more composed. And South Carolina's receivers, specifically Nick Harbor, were doing fantastic jobs of getting into the soft spot of the zone. I think it felt to me that Nick Harbor has really made that step in terms of finding a way on his routes to get into a soft spot of the zone, recognizing the coverage and getting himself open, because some of those throws seemed like layups. And some of those chunk plays felt like layups. Like they schemed it really well. And all that did kind of go out the door whenever he left. Now, Luke Doty, to his credit, they moved the ball a little bit, and you turned the ball over how many times? 4 times in this game, 3 in the second half. Yeah, you're not going to win. I don't care who you play. You're not going to beat anybody in the SEC. But that took away a lot of your scoring opportunity.
That all makes sense. Now, does that pacify me as a fan when I hear you say that?
Absolutely not. But if you're a coach and you're on that staff and you're in that locker room, you kind of have to look at it that way, right? You have to look at it as like, guys, you're not as further away. I mean, this also sounds like the Lou Holtz thing, right? Like the closer you got to game day, the more likely you are to beat the team that's supposed to beat you.
For sure.
I think you kind of have to do that. You have to say, hey, look, a 31-7 loss to those guys can be demoralizing. But that's part of the process of not letting that beat you any further. I could see where you can make that, but it shouldn't pacify fans. Like when I say that, I'm not here to try to make anybody feel better about that loss, because trust me, your feelings are justified. They're validated. But when I watch it as an objective viewer again, have no emotional connection to the program, even though I do love it here, it's fantastic. I have enjoyed every second that I have been in this market, and it is good for us whenever they're good. So I get that. Like that's kind of my perceived biases going into watching it, but I feel like I'm very objective for the most part when I'm able to watch these games. I still can go back and look and say, look, the offensive numbers are still going to end up turning out to be bad over the whole, but in that first half, before the interception specifically, you were picking up like 11 yards of play. And that's a gashing, right? And that also led me to believe that the interception was the bigger backbreaker because of what it could have meant moving forward in that game.
That being said, one more. When you look at that, it seemed like the offense was doing well, but the prevailing narrative coming out of the game was, the offense stinks. The offense is garbage. We need to fire everybody, move here, do this, replace, blah, 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 blah. And I feel like Clayton White and the defense got let off the hook a little bit. In the ire of everybody, because when I look at the grades, when you look at the film, they kind of got the dog walked on them a little bit.
Yeah. Well, especially from a play calling perspective. I think Tim Beck shoved the entire defensive coaching staff in a locker in that game. Schematically, Vanderbilt felt 2 steps ahead. And watching the game again, there was even one point, about 6.5 minutes to go in the second quarter, where Dylan Stewart actually does play the play really well, right? He's got it snuffed out. He's got the edge contained, so Diego Pavia can't turn up the sideline. The option play is not available because he's going to have to lob it over Dylan Stewart. You're not doing that because there's help on that side too. And he just said his only option is to cut up field and run into a teeth of defenders. Dylan Stewart misses the tackle. I think Sean Murphy and DQ Smith miss a tackle. And those 3 broken tackles later, a 3rd and 6 turns into a 1st and 10. Even when you had a play snuffed out, which wasn't incredibly often in the game. Now, I thought Carolina in the first half, the run defense was a hell of a lot better than it was in the second. But even in some of the instances where, just schematically, right, you got it snuffed out, you have them where you want them, you do things like miss tackles, and you give them an opportunity, and that's another 3rd down conversion.
That's the design of the offense, though, right? The design of the offense is that, yes, you'll stop us early. Yes, you'll stop us early, but just it's just going to be death by paper cuts right here. You're going to start. We're going to start slowly but surely, like to use a boxing analogy, just jab, 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 and all of a sudden here comes the hook. And that's sort of how it ends up working out. And the defense didn't have the stamina to play that game, especially after all those things start going wrong, after all of those turnovers, after all of those times. It's there was some resilience that was missing in that game. So yeah, just looking after, it's really interesting to watch the tape after we get over the reactions, after you get over the emotions. What do you feel with watch the tape Tuesday? I like it.
Yeah, watch the tape Tuesday. Now, did you feel any better about how they played after watching it back?
Well, my bias is towards defense, so I felt a little bit worse watching the defense, because I did feel like there were some things that you hit on it. That schematically, I think they got out coached, and then they got out efforted also on defense. And it's not that they didn't play hard. It's not like they were loafing or anything like that. But it felt like Vanderbilt had a little bit of an edge to them.
Yeah, it almost felt like what Vanderbilt does on offense is put them on their heels, right?
Yeah, it always felt like they were just scrambling. Like, we got to make a play sometime. It never felt like they were being an aggressor.
Yeah, which is last year in a lot of the defensively dominant games, you're the aggressor. You're collapsing the pocket. You're giving the opposing team no room to breathe. You're less reactionary. And I felt like they were just kind of on their heels for a good, especially that second half. And especially when the morale broke a little bit, right? When you get a 44-yard touchdown on your first drive of the second half, your quarterback's down, and now you're down 14 points. And it changes the tenor of the game, and it definitely changed the tenor of what the mood was like in that stadium for sure. We'll continue our Upon Further Review. Watch the tape Tuesday comes up next, but coming up next, we'll put on our garnet glasses and try to find something to feel good about. That's next here on the early game.
Football is back, and Underdog is the best place to make picks and win money all season long. And playing Underdog is easy. Just pick whether your favorite players will go higher or lower on stats like touchdowns, receiving yards, interceptions, and more. This week, last night, I took Mike Evans to go higher than 51.5. Got it. So you need to make sure that you're looking at Underdog so you can pick your favorite players to win on stats. Download the app today. Sign up with the promo code EARLYGAME to score $50 in bonus funds when you play your first $5. That's promo code EARLYGAME. Millions of fans have already won billions making picks on Underdog. Will you be next? Must be 18 plus and present in South Carolina. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/playing get terms _DFS_.html for details. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org.
No accidents to report, no significant slowdowns, all good news to start your Tuesday morning. 85 and sunny skies today and tomorrow. Come Wednesday, a few clouds and 88. And then 90 on Friday. We are going to see a little bit of an uptick as far as the humidity is concerned. Not quite done with summer yet. 60 currently on 107.5 The Game.
Now, for some, your garnet glasses might have been damaged on Saturday. You might have knocked them out of the case, thrown them against a wall. They might be cracked. They might have received the brunt of your anger.
Yeah, and there's because I don't do expensive sunglasses because I'm on prompt to lose them, break them. So glasses, especially sunglasses, for me are a dicey proposition. But I got my garnet goggles. I got them, but I understand how they could get broken.
They still intact?
Yeah.
They are resilient, like the team they are.
That's correct.
Supporting.
They're still intact. Let me pull them out.
Yes.
Let me pull them out of my pocket here.
Pull them out of the pocket.
Dust them off.
Just, all right. We're gonna put them on. We're gonna put them on here, and we're gonna try to see something through them. And I know for some, your garnet goggles might mirror like what a kaleidoscope looks like in terms of just. Not clear visibility here, or maybe there's like super fogged, but we're going to look through them and we're going to tell you what we see. And right now, I think the first thing I saw, Rasul Faison, really good.
Yeah, I think it was very clear. He made a couple of steps, he made a couple of moves, hesitations in the hole, gets north and south. He looks like a complete running back. And I think that's only going to be positive moving forward, especially if you're going to have to rely on the running game more, depending on what the quarterback situation is. I think having a clearly defined RB1 is only positive for the team moving forward.
Yeah, a clear defined RB1 that you can give a bulk of the carries to. And I'm not saying completely eliminate Oscar Attaway from the game plan, but you can use him maybe in short yardage situations, wherever Oscar Attaway can fit in situationally. Because I think he's still good enough to give some carries to, but I think it's pretty clear the best running back on your roster right now is number 1.
Also, we're going to learn a little bit. We learned a little bit more about, and I'm blanking on his name, and that's kind of a shame. But the running back coach,
Marquell Blackwell.
We're learning about Marquell Blackwell because Jawan Howell fumbled against Illinois. We hadn't seen him since. Isaiah Augustus, sir.
Oh,
you might not be back. I don't know. We're learning.
It wasn't a good fumble.
It might be.
No fumbles are good.
This might be a thing where Coach Blackwell's like, "Hey, you fumble, you go to the abyss." You go out there somewhere. Walk yourself into the woods.
It sounds scarier than Fumble Island, honestly. That sounds a lot scarier than Fumble Island.
We'll learn how that goes.
It's the abyss. But I mean, for Faison too, that was 15 carries for 75 yards and the lone touchdown during the game. And a lot of it was him making guys miss. It was a lot of making guys miss. And if we keep it with the running game here too, in terms of run blocking, I think that first half might have been one of your best, if that was your best 2 quarters of run blocking this season, specifically from Trovon Baugh. Now, I think Baugh had made the critical mistake of the game, which is not picking up Langston Patterson on the blitz that got Lenore Sellers knocked out. That's a big demerit on the game report card for Tro. But that was his most violent run blocking game to date, where he seemed to be the aggressor. And there was even one play once they got into, and I can't remember right now if it was that touchdown drive or that drive that resulted in the interception.
I think it was the interception.
The interception drive, yep. Where he carries his man like 5 or 6 yards downfield, then Shed Surratt gets to pounce on top of them. They're high-fiving each other. That was his best, I think, individual effort that you might have seen from him in a Gamecock uniform.
Yeah, that was the first time you saw the offensive linemen started getting into a little bit of rhythm. It's always fun when you see the offensive linemen start bouncing a little bit. They're like, okay, we got something going here. Run the ball behind me, those types of things. That was the first time you saw that all year. If I stay with the run blocking, this is half full, half empty, garnet glasses, however you want to look at it. But I think the continuous improvement of Case and Henry is something that we can definitely look forward to because he graded out the highest out of all the offensive linemen. Both in run blocking, and pass blocking. So for everybody last year who rightfully so had your Madden cam on Case and Henry because he was not good for a majority of the year last year, this year has been totally different. Of course, the flip side is that he went down with an injury. We'll see what the reports are on that. But if you're looking for something to be positive of, there has been development at that position.
Yeah, which my garnet glasses on makes me feel a little bit better. And now you're hoping to not see him on the availability report whenever that actually comes out. Sticking with the offense too. Again, mentioned the first segment. You picked up a lot of chunk plays in that first half. That's where a majority of your explosive plays came from. When Lenoris was playing, now you would have definitely loved to have more than 7 points on those first 3 drives. But when Lenoris was playing, he definitely picked apart Vanderbilt up and down the field until he got into the red zone, that one play where he get the interception. I get it. But I do find that to be a little promising because he had protection. He had time to throw. And Nick Harbor specifically, route running clinic on how to run a route against a zone defense. Got into a ton of the soft spots. They had a lot of explosive plays. The first play of the game I absolutely loved. I put that in my notes, like in all caps. Like, this is what we have been waiting for on first downs, or play action bootlegs, right? Where you can get Lenoris on the run a little bit, move the pocket along, and then boom, a 30-something yard reception for Jordan Dingle, and your offense is immediately cooking. Like before, and again, right before the interception, you're picking up about 11 yards of play. Now, I understand the flip side is that has to continue throughout the course of a game. I completely understand that. That is an issue. But don't tell me the offense can't do it. Don't tell me they can't. Don't tell me this is a bad unit. Like, on the field, you have to be able to tap into it and put them in positions to where they can do something like that, where they're picking up 11 yards of play on their first 3 drives of the game.
All right, let me dust them off. These are not only Garnet goggles, but also D-line goggles.
Oh, these are the ones that you carry around every day.
I carry these all the time. This is how I watch the games. This is why I see. This is why I was in such a conflict when the big boy got the pick against us, because it was so beautiful, but yet it hurt my heart. That being said, Monkel Goodwine, Gabriel Brown-Ladendi are playing very well up front. They have answered the Nick Barrett also. The 3 highest grades on defense were the 3 interior linemen. Nick Barrett, Gabriel Brown-Ladendi, and Monkel Goodwine. That is awesome news, because that was one of the biggest questions that we had going into this season. How are these guys in the middle going to be able to play? And they have graded out the highest. That's not Garner goggles. Of course, since we lost, I have to bring up the other side. We need the people that we thought were going to play well, and they're not right now.
Yeah.
So the positive is that we have answered the question as far as the interior defensive line. They are playing well. They're grading out. They look like they have provided some answers. Some of the other people, mainly the defensive backs who we needed to play well, they are not.
Yes, I understand there's been a hamstring thing with him for the first 3 weeks of the season. You need more out of Jalen Kilgore.
Correct.
Because that's the guy that was your All-American, right? Him and Dylan Stewart, Lenore Sellers, all AP All-Americans, like those type of guys, you need them to be All-American caliber. And that was one of the reasons why some of the hopes for this team were so high coming into the season, is because you had some dudes like that. You need to see it out of Jalen Kilgore. My thing with Kilgore, I know it's there, which is why I can't bury him, because I know it's there. You just need to see it. And whether it's an injury thing or not, the results will be the results. And you have to go out there and make more plays than what you've done. Play like you were the guy who led the SEC in interceptions last year. You heard Preston talk about some of the grades on the offensive line. That's certainly going to be part of Old Man versus Analytics, where you take a numbers-based view as to what happened in Williams-Brice Stadium on Saturday. That's next here on the Early Game.
Hey, it's Jen for CHW Cabinetry in Lexington. We were first introduced to them when we had a flood in our kitchen. Had to totally take it down to the studs and refinish the kitchen. Had to choose new cabinets, new accessories, and CHW Cabinetry was there to help, got the photorealistic rendering. I talk about it all the time, but it was so helpful because then we could figure out putting the rest of the kitchen together while we're waiting for the cabinets to come in. But cabinetry, you don't have to do a huge project to take advantage of what CHW cabinetry can offer. Wire hanging racks, get rid of those. Have something else put into your bedroom closets. Maybe you want to update your pantry in your kitchen. Tired of stuff getting stuck in the back? They can put drawers in. So many things that they can do to make your home a little bit more functional. CHWCabinetry.com or call them at 803-520-6837. Tell them Jen Jensen sent you. CHW Cabinetry, passion from inspiration to installation. Highway 21 near Blythewood Road, kind of in front of Blythewood High School. We have a report of an accident there. So be mindful as you're approaching the traffic flow in that area. 85 today and tomorrow, looking for mostly sunny skies. 88 on Thursday and Friday, mostly sunny, and 90, a little increase in the humidity for the remainder of this week. But it is 60 currently on 107.5 The Game.
It's time to make Preston mad with numbers. It's old man versus analytics here on the early game.
Those numbers.
Time to make him really rage against the machine. But we'll go start off with this one. Lenore Sellers, 3 for 3 for 76 yards and a 90 passing grade on passes 10 to 19 yards down the field. He's finally, before the injury, finding more of a rhythm on those throws from the pocket.
Agreed. Yeah, he looked more comfortable when he was in the pocket. Obviously, when they got the first drive, drove down the field again. Looks like when he's prepared, coached up, he can do all of those things well. But.
Big butt here.
Use his big butt to run the ball. Run the ball with the big butt.
Yes.
With the 242. He needs to run the ball more. So that's my old man on that.
I like that. I mean, as good as he was in the pocket, I think at the end of the day, what makes him so special is the stuff he does when a pocket collapses and he's throwing people off of his back and he's, extending plays or design quarterback runs where he is just outrunning people or breaking through tackles. I think he might have led your team last year in missed tackles force. And you had Rocket Sanders in the backfield.
Again, man, it's all my mind is consistently on food, but go to the restaurant for what they do well. Don't get the, don't get the chicken fingers from the steak restaurant. It's not what they do.
No.
Get what they do well.
Even if you're 6 years old, you go to the steak restaurant, you're eating this steak.
Correct.
You're eating it. I don't care how much you love the chicken fingers. I don't care.
I'm actually thinking if you go to a chicken fingers restaurant, you probably don't want the steak more than if you went to the steak restaurant and got the chicken fingers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Get what they do well. And he runs the ball well, so give him more opportunities.
Absolutely. But don't think I haven't thought about ordering the Tebow steak at Waffle House. Don't think I haven't thought about it. Have I yet to pull the trigger on that? Absolutely not. But don't think it hasn't crossed my mind. Gamecocks on Saturday had 6 offensive linemen with pass block grades above 70. That'd be Boaz Stanley, Shed Surratt, Nolan Hay, Kason Henry, Tree Babalade, Trovon Baugh. Now, Hay, Surratt, and Stanley were all above 80. The pass blocking has improved for most of the snaps.
Yes, pass blocking has improved. However, when you look at, and this is why it's a whole unit, you talk about the unit playing 5 as 1, all of those different types of things. So there's a disconnect between the pass blocking have improved to those numbers, but also still being last in the SEC in sacks allowed.
Mm-hmm.
And that's hard to make sense of those numbers.
Yeah.
Unless
you're throwing me a softball here. Terry Ford and I looked at this yesterday. Amongst qualified players with a certain amount of dropbacks, Lenore Sellers is top 20 in the country in pressure to sack percentage, which is the amount of pressures you get that do turn into sacks. It is a pretty high number. Sacks can sometimes be a quarterback stat. You hold on to the ball too long or you're too indecisive, the pocket will break down, right? You only have all day to throw. There's a reason why, in the NFL, if a quarterback has an average time to throw of about 3.5 seconds, then they're getting good protection.
Also, there's a movement in the NFL to really move towards sacks being a quarterback stat.
Mm-hmm.
That's a new age movement,
especially at that level.
But it's moving that way.
Yes.
And if you're talking about at that level, one of the things that we keep talking about is this is a pro-style offense. We want him to be a pro-style quarterback. This is Mike Schuler's pro-style offense. Maybe that's how you have to judge that.
Yeah. I think that's definitely how you have to judge that. That's definitely a bigger part of the equation than historically it's been viewed, right? And that's why I love looking at that pressures to sack number. I think one of the reasons why they have a lot of negative plays, sometimes you have to be able to hardwire your quarterback to either bail out of the pocket or just get rid of the ball, like get an incompletion, live to fight another down, sacks bad, and just get that coached out of them as much as possible. But I think that definitely quarterback offensive line in terms of sacks, it's a cohesive stat, maybe not isolated to just the offensive line. Now, Rasul Faison gained 45 of his 74 yards running off the right guard, which was Trovon Baugh, on Saturday night. Running to the right side of the line is where the running game's bread is going to be buttered from here on out.
I think that's cool, but I don't think the run game necessarily works like that when you run a zone type of scheme, because there's, you're running one way, you're cutting back, you're finding all those lanes and different things. So I think that's good, but that's not something that they can rely on being able to run that side of the ball. Or else we just go old school, like old school high school offenses where you switch the linemen from side to side.
And whichever side of the line they're on is the one that you're running
if
to.
he's that good, I mean, I've definitely seen high school offenses like he's the right guard now, but he's the left guard now. And when he's the left guard, they're running left.
They're running that way.
And hey, listen, if it worked that good, I'm not opposed to it. But you definitely don't want to be that unbalanced, because if you're that good to the right side, what does it mean for the other side?
Right. And also, when a certain running back comes in the game and obviously the right guard is still the right guard, you probably might play your hand a little bit as to where the ball is going to be going. And, of course, you have to run the ball on both sides. But also, is that a running back specific thing, too? I mean, could it be possible? And is this something that you've ever seen where a running back, for some reason, has just one side of the offensive line that he loves to run behind, or just in terms of how they run directionally? Maybe they cut better with a certain knee, or they're maybe a little more elusive on a certain side of the field, or if the ball's on a far hash mark and they have more space to run on that side, that's usually when they make their magic.
That could be very well true. We're still learning about who Rasul Faison is as a running back. He had his style is a little bit unorthodox as far as he's sort of very patient, hitting the hole. So we're still learning about who he is as a running back.
That is one thing I've noticed in watching him play too. Very twitchy. Like like when he plants his foot in the ground, he makes a cut. He makes a cut. He cuts pretty quickly. Last one here too. The player most targeted against on the defense was Fred Johnson with 6. Now, is this more of a microcosm of what Vanderbilt wants to do offensively in terms of putting linebackers in conflict, especially in the passing game? Or is it an advantage they thought they might have had over him specifically?
I think that's just a game plan specific thing. I think that's the thing where Vandy does what we're going to do, what we do, and whoever's in the way, they just have to be the person. I don't think it was specific towards him, because if you watch his 2 other films, that'd be the guy you would not
want to go
against. So I think that's more of just a function of how Vanderbilt plays their game.
So I think out of all the players, and if you look at the numbers of targeted against, the top 2 for South Carolina were linebackers. So I feel like that kind of mirrors that a little bit. That's one thing, again, another thing Vanderbilt's offense does really well is put players in conflict in positions they just don't want to be in or normally are in. And I think having linebackers out in coverage is definitely a big part of that. But sticking with the defense, we're going to ask ourselves, and we're going to have Preston break this down in a little further detail. Why did the defense struggle so much in the second half to get off the field on third downs? When I asked Shane Beamer about the defensive struggles, I asked, is it maybe fatigue just because of how Vanderbilt plays? And he said, I sure hope it's not. But he did allude to them having a hard time getting off the field on third downs. Why was that? Well, we'll get into that coming up next here in the early game. Now, watching your favorite team's defense not get off the field on third down can be pretty frustrating. But it doesn't help matters when you stand up and go to the kitchen to get a snack to continue watching the game with, and you step on your carpet and it's gummy and matted down. That's gross. Nobody wants that. Because I know for me, my carpet has got to be soft and fluffy with 0 residue and a lasting clean, which is why I call Zero Res. Zero Res equals 0 residue. And for this month, in the month of September, the more you clean, the more you can save. 3 rooms for $119, 4 rooms for $144, 5 rooms for just $169. Save up to $30 in schedule with Zero Res today and take advantage of that patented cleaning process that uses no harsh chemicals. And it's a clean that's safe for your family and your pets. You can easily schedule online at ZeroResColumbia.com. And remember, Zero Res, spell it backwards or forwards, it's the right way to clean. The offense has caught a lot of the flack for South Carolina. I mean, you only score 7 points. I mean, it's kind of due. You turn the ball over 4 times, it's kind of due. And if you get past the Vanderbilt 50 7 times and score 7 points and get to the Vanderbilt 35 5 times and still only come away with 7 points, I think that's a fair thing to note. But the defense didn't hold up in the second half. Thought they played pretty well in the first half, limiting Vanderbilt as much as they could, because Vanderbilt's offense is very hard to play against. But it fell apart in the second half, and when you really needed a stop after going 3 and out on that first possession, you give up a 4-play, 75-yard touchdown drive that ends in a 44-yard touchdown scamper from Vanderbilt's third-string running back. So Preston Thorne, on Watch the Tape Tuesday, why did this defense struggle so much against Vanderbilt?
Yeah, Shane can say that he hopes it wasn't about fatigue, but it was. It is about you getting tired. But it's not like my conditioning. It's not about my conditioning and getting tired. It's about getting mentally fatigued of having to make a play every single play, because there's no plays off. When you watch certain offenses, even if you watch our offense, sometimes there might be a play where there's a quick pass, incomplete, you move on to the next play. That's essentially a play off for everybody. Vanderbilt's offense doesn't operate like that. Every single play, everybody has to do their job, and that gets taxing every single play. That's why it felt like when you're watching them, it feels like they're chasing. It feels like every single play could be the one that goes to the house because you don't know what's happening. Mm-hmm. Is Diego Pavia going to pitch it? Is he going to hand it off? Is he going to throw it over his head, maybe out of bounds, and everybody –
that definitely happened.
It happens,
in the game
right?
Too. Yeah,
and so it's not the physical fatigue, even though there is that component, because when they make you make a play every time, you know what you have to do? You have to tackle every time. Mm-hmm. And eventually you get tired of tackling. Or you don't tackle because you are tired. And so, yeah, I do think it is a cumulative idea of fatigue. Now, is that because the offense had 3 and outs, gave up turnovers, didn't control the ball? But that's all part of Vandy running that time possession offense where every single play you have to be on an assignment. And you just get – it's like driving, man. It's like, you have to be paying attention every single second. It's very much different. You could spend 5 hours on your couch and be cool.
Be fine, yeah.
And 5 hours driving, you're like, I'm really tired. Or driving in traffic maybe is a better apt analogy, right? You could drive 30 minutes in traffic and you feel like you've been driving for 4 hours because you had to white knuckle it the whole time because you never know what's going to happen. And that's sort of how you're playing against Vandy's offense. They're just always making you make decisions.
From a tempo standpoint, too, because when you watch a team on TV that's running a lot of no huddle, that wants to run like 80 plays a game, right? Something absurd, but they are constantly like snapping the ball every like 14 or 15 game seconds. Like they're going fast. Naturally, you can get tired doing that. But is the inverse true for a team like Vanderbilt that will huddle, they'll stand around, they'll break the huddle maybe with 15 seconds left on the play clock and bleed that bad boy down to like 2 or 3? Sometimes even 1, and snap the ball?
Because there's a lack of rhythm. You sometimes with those plays that are running, play after play, all right, put the ball down, let's play it. Put the ball down, let's play it. Let's get in the rhythm of playing ball. And eventually they're running so many plays, they're going to have an incomplete pass. They're going to have something that happens. You get a break. That doesn't happen with Vanderbilt. They get in the huddle. They sit there. Now you have to think about your assignment. Are they going to give it to the dive? Are they going to run the option? What's going to happen here? Still haven't gotten in play yet. Oh! Then they run up to the line and they run the play. And so, yeah, they play with tempo in a different way. Everybody thinks the tempo is fast, but tempo
can be slow.
It can be all different types of ways that you talk, and they can all be effective.
And that's one of the reasons why they are able to choke out time of possession throughout the course of a game. I've always wondered that in terms of, does it lead to fatigue? I mean, because the wild thing is, too, I think both teams ran 61 some odd plays, but Vanderbilt had the ball for about 36 minutes.
Give you a basketball analogy. It's like playing like those Princeton type of teams.
I will say those are very difficult.
Because he's like, man, are you running another ball screen again?
Because it's not like you're standing around either. I mean, you're having to move around, and it's short spurts because it's in the half court. which makes a lot of sense. Sometimes those are the worst teams to play.
Exactly.
The absolute worst teams to play. Hour number 1 is in the books. We'll kick off hour number 2 of the early game by answering the question, is the loss on Saturday a mirage or a mirror of what this team is? That's next.
Highway 21 near Blythewood Road, still working that earlier slowdown. We're going to have sunny skies for the next several days, 85 today and tomorrow, 88 with a couple clouds rolling in for Thursday. And then we get back to the sunshine for the start of your weekend. Could see a high of 90 on Friday, and increases in humidity are definitely on the way. Right now, though, it's 60 on the early game.
Hour number 2 of the early game starts right now. I'm Elijah Campbell. He's Preston Thorne. She's Jen Jensen. And to start this hour, we will answer the question as to whether or not Saturday night was a mirage or if it presented something of a mirror to reflect what this team will be to some degree for the rest of the season. And there's a lot that goes into that. There's a whole lot that goes into that because I think you need to look at the things that are replicable and things that will and will not happen again later on in the season. I have a hard time believing they turned the ball over 4 times on a game-to-game basis. It's still not a good sign, but in your SEC opener, turning the ball over 4 times kept you out of the end zone, kept you from having chances to kick field goals. Are you going to be able to hit the field goals when you do get in field goal range? Another question that still I think is TBD because you just haven't had a ton of attempts, right? But Saturday provided a couple of things. Some things that might be a little fluky like turnovers, but things that also highlighted larger problems because I didn't realize the stat was the stat until I saw it upon rewatch when I was watching the tape and realized that after that South Carolina touchdown, and then them not scoring after that drive in the first half, they have only 2 touchdown drives on 15 total first half drives this season. In the first half of 3 games against Virginia Tech, 0-3, South Carolina State, FCS, and Vanderbilt, you have scored 2 touchdowns on 15 drives.
And to dig a little bit deeper into that, those 2 touchdowns only came on your opening drives.
Yep. What we would consider to be the scripted drives.
So that's, to me, that's maybe that is when a thing is becoming a thing. After 3 games. That's why I wanted to wait 3 games to see what's going on, what's happening. That's a clear trend and a clear pattern that this team is not able to go. Again, the numbers are there as far as the offense is concerned. Last in total yards, last in rushing yards, most sacks given up, last in first downs, last in 15th, not last, 15th in scoring offense, 15th in third down conversions, 15th in red zone. I mean, those that's not narrative. Those are numbers.
Those are numbers, yeah, and they're not good. And that narrative is formed because of those numbers right there. Because after your first drive, the offense has completely struggled. In the game where you went 3 and out in your first drive against South Carolina State, you continued to struggle, right? That part of the offense has felt more like a mirror than mirage. But what do you see when you look in that mirror to be able to fix that? I think you got to something of an improvement by the way you were able to move the ball in that first half against Vanderbilt, but then it got to turning the ball over on the 12-yard line. And that's why I think that play was such a backbreaker, right? Like the injury to Lenoris, I think, is probably the most obvious turning point of that game. I think the second most obvious turning point was throwing that interception, giving what you could have given the situation you could have put yourself into after that with a 14-7 lead and making Vanderbilt have to respond as opposed to you having to be the one responding. And then when your quarterback goes down, you have to be the one responding with a backup quarterback where the rhythm is obviously not going to be the same.
Also, when you add on to that to stay with the offense, I think there's a clear trend with Mike Schuler's offenses. Mm-hmm. They have not put up points.
No.
From the bowl game, first game, second game, third game, I believe 17 is the max.
Yep. So 17 against Illinois, 17 against Virginia Tech, 17 against South Carolina State, and 7 against Vanderbilt.
Oh. And what was the final score of Virginia Tech game? I don't remember.
24-11.
So, yeah, so 17 offensive points, right?
Yep.
So
Bakari Swain helped him out.
Minus the special teams. So 17 is not going to be enough to win in any league offensively.
Nope.
So if that is a continuing trend, that does not spell a lot of wins in the future. Obviously, there are things that can be corrected with that. And if you was to have your most garnet of glasses on, you could say that maybe this team was trending towards scoring more of that before Lenoris got hurt because of all the statistics you laid out. But the numbers are they have not been proficient as an offense since Mike Schuler's been at the helm.
Yeah, and that is where a change has to be made, right? Because if you keep trying to do the same thing despite the negative results, ultimately it's the process that's failed. Like, I understand maybe being patient if the results are bad at first because you believe in the process. But at this point, the time to believe in the process is over. You have an SEC loss. It's getting harder, right? You have to go at Missouri, a team where you're going to have to score points to win that game because that team can run the hell out of the football. They just had 2 guys combined for well over 300-plus rushing yards on Saturday. Almost 400, right? That is a team in Missouri that is going to try to run it down your throat and control how that game is being played. You are going to have to score way more than 7 points. You're going to have to score more than 17. It goes back to what we talked about with that South Carolina State game, and one of the reasons why there was a little bit of angst after that is because you scored only 17 offensive points in that game. That's not going to fly in the SEC. We said you got away with that against South Carolina State. You will not get away with that against Vanderbilt. That was correct. And I'm telling you right now, from what I've seen from Missouri, you will definitely not get away with that against Missouri.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. Okay, so you would assume that you're not going to have another Murphy's Law type of game where everything that can go wrong does go wrong. You assume that doesn't happen, right?
I would assume that you won't always compile what your current offensive struggles are with 4 turnovers.
With your quarterback getting hurt.
And your quarterback getting hurt, yes. That will not be the case every game.
And not just your quarterback, but the driver of this whole institution that we're running here.
And your right tackle, who has been your best offensive lineman. That also doesn't help. That was kind of part of the Murphy's Lawness of that game. I think some offensive futility once you got it past the 50, mixed with the injuries, mixed with the turnovers, all kind of added into this big pot of gumbo that was a disasterful game Saturday night.
Well, I think when you're looking at, we don't know what the status is going to be. I'm not sure when we will get an update on Lenoris' status, but there has to be a question asked about who is going to be I'll ask this because I want to know, who is Luke Doty's backup?
That's a really good question.
If Luke Doty is the presumed starter, based on this is not based on any information, just based on who finished the last game, who's his backup? Because we have questions about what the quarterbacking situation is as far as that's concerned. So is that a mirror or is that a mirage as far as who's going to be the quarterback?
I think that one might end up being a mirror. Because here's the thing, too. Again, if you truly in your heart of hearts believe Luke Doty is giving you the best chance to win, you have to play him regardless, right? If that is what you believe. But once we get to Missouri, how fast is the trigger being pulled? That also goes back to just what they know and what we don't. And that's to your point, that's what we want to know. How close is Aaron Nolan or Cutter Woods to being that QB2? Because if you get down 21-0 against Missouri and nothing is working, you have to make a change somewhere. Something has to change to be able to get your offense moving, because if you keep trying the same thing and you get in the second quarter and you're still not moving the ball, then you're committing the definition of insanity. Ultimately, you're going to have to throw in a wrinkle, do something different to be able to score, because there's a good chance that you can get down early to Missouri because of how potent that offense looks after 3 games.
Yeah, but this is game 3. And after game 3, I remember distinctly after last year, game 3, LSU, my first thought was we lost that game, but this is a good team.
Yes, that was a much different loss than what we saw on Saturday.
We lost that game, but I was like, you know what? We're going to be all right.
Yeah.
My shoulders are up a little bit more with this one. I'm like, I hope, but I'm not convinced.
Yeah, and it's because, and I think it's mostly because of the offensive struggles. Look, I think you could live with having a game or two where your defense maybe lets you down in the second half. But also, when you only score 7 points, you're expecting them to be the 85 Bears if you still want to win the game, or the 2002 Bucks, or the 2000 Ravens, right? You're expecting them to be generational on defense if you're going to score 7 points and expect to win the game. I think you probably have proven that whatever it is that you want to do on offense in terms of establishing an identity is not working. And that's where something's going to have to change too. Now, maybe you can look at that first half success on offense against Vanderbilt and say, all right, that's our game plan moving forward. But at the same time, you're still taking away Lenore Sellers' designed runs because he really only had 2 designed runs. He did get sacked once, so that counts as a rush. So really about 2 runs from Lenore Sellers. And I just think anybody that watched him play last year would tell you that kid is special when he tucks it and runs it, and you need more of that.
Yeah, but my question is still, after 3 games, I don't know what we are. So it all feels like a mirage because I can't figure out what we are on offense. We run plays, we run different formations.
They play football.
But it feels like the way that I used to play video games. I'll just pick plays.
Vibes.
That one, and I mean, I don't know if it's vibes, but what's the system? What are we trying to accomplish here? What is the thing that we do? It just feels like we just pick. I was thinking about this the other day. It feels like this idea of, if you ask somebody what type of music you listen to, and if they say, I listen to everything, then they have no taste. Right? It's like, come on, man. You listen to something. Like you might be.
There's a go-to. You have a go-to.
What is your thing?
Yes.
I love 90s hip-hop music. That's what I love. I listen to a lot of broad types of music. I have a pretty wide palette. But when it comes down to it, I'm putting that Wu-Tang on.
You can circle it down to one thing if you just had to pick.
Tribe Called Quest is going to be what I'm picking.
Yes.
Outkast is on my playlist. I don't know what Mike Shula likes. He likes everything. And when you like everything, you really like nothing.
Or if you try to be good at everything,
you can't be good at anything.
Can't be good at anything. Yeah.
And so
it's a fantastic point.
Trying to figure out what are we? It's 3 games of watching. I don't know what we are yet.
It's a really good point because when we talked about, the coaching performances of both teams on Saturday night, you knew what Vanderbilt is.
Exactly.
And players knew what they were.
Most importantly, the players knew who they were. They know what we are trying to accomplish. They know this is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to do it. And if it doesn't work, we're going to do it again because this is what we do.
Mm-hmm. And then ultimately it worked throughout the game. Even when it didn't work in the first half. They were rushing under 3 yards per rush in the first half. That number improved significantly in half number 2 because they stuck to what it is they do. It was process-oriented, right? Even if the result wasn't good, the process still led them to getting the results they wanted to later on because they're all on the same page with what they want to do. I too, struggle spotting out an identity for this offense because you will see some good, and then you'll see penalties, self-inflicted stuff. No rhythm in an offense after the first drive, right? You scored, what? You scored 17 points of offense that first game, 17, so 34. You scored 41 points of offense through 3 games. 14 of those have come on an opening drive where it's pre-scripted, but those 14 points came from a lot of rhythm, maybe a little bit of tempo, a lot more confident-looking offensive play. Why is it so different whenever you get off of that opening drive script? I lost on that one. Wish I had an answer. Been watching this team, been rewatching every game that's been played. Still don't have an answer for you on that one.
Let me ask you this: Are we a tight end heavy team?
Sometimes, and that's the problem. Sometimes.
Are we a
some drives?
Are we a wide receiver 5 wide open team?
Sometimes.
Are we a power run team?
Sometimes. I don't know.
And if you don't know, they don't know.
Right.
The players don't know either. You have to know what you are in order to execute it, and I don't feel like we do.
So maybe ask the questions: is this a loss, a mirage, or a mirror? Maybe a broken one, a broken mirror. That is, because we can't tell what the reflection tells us.
What am I?
What am I? An identity crisis is happening in Gamecock land right now. We'll go ahead and take a quick break. When we come back, it'll be the early game morning meeting, and sometimes in morning meetings, grades are passed out.
Interims.
The grades have been passed out by Pro Football Focus. We'll discuss that coming up next.
Woodbury near Highway 1, we have a report of an accident. Also still working that earlier slowdown, Highway 21 near Blythewood Road. And lots of sunshine this week, 85 today and tomorrow, 88 on Thursday. A little bit of an increase in the humidity, but still not terrible. 90 for Friday, 60 right now on 107.5 The Game.
Grades are out on Watch the Tape Tuesday. The fellows at Pro Football Focus watch the tape as well, and they give out hardcore number grades for what they saw in each game. So we're about to look at these grades and give our take on them for today's morning meeting.
Good morning. Good morning. Repeat after me. Today will be an awesome day. Let's go. Good morning, great today. Today will be an awesome day.
Yes, it will.
Good morning, great today. Today will be an awesome day.
It's Watch the Tape Tuesday, so we're going to make it an awesome Watch the Tape Tuesday. Should we start with the quarterback position, Preston Thorne, in terms of grades?
Sure, because I think that's the head of the offense. So, yeah, that's a great place to start.
Now, for Lenora Sellers and Luke Doty, very similar. Total offensive grade for Lenora Sellers, 69.7, and for Luke Doty, 69.1. In terms of pass specific, Lenora Sellers, 71.4, Luke Doty, 70.8.
And when you look at the number, those are essentially average-ish types grades.
Yeah, they're like thumb up.
Thumb up.
Not two thumbs up emphatically, going very nice.
Right.
But like one thumb up.
Right. But here's the issue, and that's why I'm graded a little bit on a curve, because a C for Lenoris is like an F for this team.
Yes.
He cannot be average. One of the things, the quotes that Shane said was, he's been good enough. But that's not good enough.
Nope.
He has to be better than that. So grading on a curve, a C for you, 16 is an F. You got to be better than that.
Now, for grading on a curve, what do we give Luke Doty for coming in and backup duty? A C would be
C plus.
Yeah, because hard position to come into. But you would like to have seen more.
Would have liked to have seen more, but ideally, when your backup quarterback comes in, you're going to have to figure out another way to win the game. It's not going to be on his arm. It's going to be – now, here's what I would like to see again, and I guess I'm asking for the same thing. Luke Doty is an excellent athlete. Run the ball with him.
Yeah.
Give him some opportunities to run the ball. We saw him be athletic. So if we're not going to think that his arm necessarily is going to win it, let's run the ball with Luke. It seems like that's a low-risk way to keep him and get him involved in the game.
Now, if we go to receiving, if you had to guess who that had the highest receiving grade on this team would be, who'd you guess, just from watching the game?
I mean, my guess would be Nick.
Nick is close because he got a 75.4, but it's Jordan Dingle at 80.2.
Ooh, okay, at the tight end. And he's been a pleasant surprise. If you're looking for your garnet glasses, to look for somebody that you didn't necessarily think was going to be that.
So I only get a catch in the first two games.
Of course, the flip side of that is he's been a pleasant surprise. Michael Smith has been not a surprise. He's been a surprise way he hasn't played.
A surprise in the wrong way.
Correct.
Right.
So you can look at that however you want to look at that. Again, going back to identity, if our team identity is going to be based on we use the tight ends in multiple ways and we like to throw to the tight ends, like your boys, like the Cyclones.
Yes, Iowa State. heard a stat, and this is definitely going to come up on Team Crush Tuesday. I know it is. For one, Preston Thorne, Iowa State has targeted their tight ends on 40% of their passes. That is such an absurd split.
You think those tight ends go into meetings thinking like, we're going to get the ball?
They walk into those meetings thinking they're Antonio Gates.
Exactly.
Right?
That's
Or
called
Tony
identity.
Gonzalez.
That's called knowing who they are. But here's the problem. That's not what we were sold all offseason. Offseason, we heard about the wide receiving core. We're so deep. There's so many guys that can make plays. The young guys, Nick Harbor, blah, blah, blah. And we haven't seen that.
No?
So I think that is a not a great sign if the tight end is the leading
As the highest
grade as far as receiving is concerned.
Now, if we go to running backs, that's receiving. We go to rushing. I think it'd be pretty easy to assume Rasul Faison had the best running grade.
Mm-hmm.
He did at 70.3, which shows us maybe some room for improvement. Even though you put your Garnet goggles on, he did. You would see the first thing you might see, really, if you put on your Garnet goggles, would be Rasul Faison. Then you had Oscar Attaway at 63.1, Lenore Sellers at 59.4, Luke Doty at 59.2, which I think kind of reflects. I think my eyes would mirror the same thing.
That's fair. I think that's fine.
And then we go to blocking. Now, if we go to pass blocking, Boaz Stanley was the highest graded pass blocker on the team, 84.3. Again, we mentioned this in Old Man versus Analytics. There were 3 different offensive linemen with pass block grades of 80 or better. Boaz Stanley, 84.3. Shed Surratt, 82.3. Nolan Hay, 80.7. Which you'll take, right? Rasul Faison as the running back, 77.8. Always good to have a running back who grades high in pass protection.
Absolutely.
You need that.
Absolutely.
Big in terms of picking up blitzes. If your offensive line has a hard time picking up blitzes, your running back needs to come in and help out.
Which goes back to the point about the play when Lenoris got hurt. It was an empty formation. There was no running back there to pick up any blitzers, so it was all based on the offensive line being able to do that. They should have been able to do that because they only brought 4, and we had 5. Should have been picked up. However, if you're not in an empty formation, maybe you have a running back there who does block, can help with that situation.
Now, Trovon Ball had a 70.5 pass block grade, but I think it would have been higher if it was not for that one play specifically, where he is moving over to block the nose guard, who has 3 Carolina players blocking him, and that gives Langston Patterson a free run to Lenore Sellers.
Yeah, you know, if you're taking a test, some parts of the test are worth more than other parts of the test.
Yes.
He failed the essay question. He got all the multiple choices right, but you got to get this essay right, man. This essay is worth a lot.
This is worth a lot. You can't leave that blank.
Yeah, he left it blank, and you can't do that.
I mean, I definitely, in a test in my senior year of high school, where I, at that point of the year, really have mailed it in, and it was a personal finance exam or a test. It wasn't even an exam, it was a test, because I would not have done this on an exam. But there was a question I just straight up didn't know. I drew a little sailboat right there as my answer, and then I got back on the paper. It said, "You're lucky I didn't take off more points for not even trying."
Exactly. You get more. You get minus whatever you was going to get.
This will be -1. This will be -5. I'm insulted that you decided to doodle for this answer. So that was the offensive line. Run blocking, still not as good as what the pass blocking was, according to Pro Football Focus. Kason Henry was your leading run blocking grade with 75.6. Only one other player was at 70, and that was Michael Smith.
And again, to bring the point back again, Kason Henry has been vastly improved from where he was last year in these first 3 games. I'll probably be my award for most improved, but he gets hurt. So, you know, it's one of those things where it's part of the unfortunate circumstances that happen all game.
Defensively, overall defensive grades, Nick Barrett at 78.3 had the highest grade. Brandon Cisse at 76. Justin Okoronkwo at 74.8. David Busey at 74.3. And those are the only 4 players that were north of 70.
And that's the problem. That's the problem.
More.
You have 2 dudes that we talked about were potential first-team All-Americans, et cetera, and neither one of them played well at all.
Yeah, Jalen Kilgore had a grade of 55.1. He was the second of 2 Kilgores in terms of grades.
Yeah,
because Gerald was 58.
Can't win like that.
No, you need your best players on defense to shine and be your best players on defense. That's how you keep Vanderbilt from scoring 31 points on you. And on Saturday against this Missouri team that is high flying on offense right now, you are going to need, in the worst way, them to step up.
Which, by the way, for the morning meeting, information purposes, Dylan Stewart is available to play all game.
Yes, big announcement. Yes, they did confirm he is able to play. So now we can deduce that rule is reserved for targeting. Yeah, targeting in the second half, then you're suspended for the first half of the next game. So we will get 4 quarters of Dylan Stewart on Saturday. But coming up next, it's time to take a look at the offense since Mike Shula took over at OC. What does the offense look like compared to what it looked like with Law against his OC last year? That's next.
Football is here, and Underdog is the best place to make picks, win money all season long, and you can play right now in South Carolina. Playing Underdog is easy. Just pick whether your favorite players will go higher or lower on stats like touchdowns, receiving yards, interceptions, and more. But it's not just football. Our own Asia Wilson is a player that you can pick, and I'm picking Asia Wilson to go higher than 24.5 points, and I'm also picking her to go higher than 10.5 rebounds in her playoff game tonight. So look at Asia Wilson to go higher in points and rebounds. Download the app today and sign up with the promo code EARLYGAME to score $50 in bonus funds when you play your first $5. That's promo code EARLYGAMES. Underdog. Make picks, win money. Must be 18 plus and present in South Carolina. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms _DFS_.html for details. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org.
North Springs Road at North Brickyard Road. We have a report of an accident there. Still also working on Highway 21 near Blythewood Road and Woodbury Road near Highway 1. An accident as well. Be careful if you would, please. 85 today and tomorrow with sunny skies, some clouds, and 88 for your Thursday. 90 on Friday under mostly sunny skies. We will see a little uptick in the humidity, though. Currently 60 at 107.5. The Game.
We are 4 games in with not the 2025 season, but with Mike Shula as the offensive coordinator for the South Carolina Gamecocks. We have a little bit of a sample size to work with now. 4 games, the akin to a third of a season, which is basically what we have. So I figured it was time to look at last year's offense with a lot of similar pieces in play. That was where you had the most continuity. So I think it's fair to look at last year's offense and this year's offense. The biggest change coming from running back, a few offensive linemen, but most importantly, the offensive coordinator. So it's time to look at some of the numbers. You ready to dive into this?
Yeah, I am. I'm very specifically curious about this because I want to hear if this confirms what I'm thinking.
Now, I did have a texter on the Firehouse Subs text line ask me, because I did the average of what the points per game total was for Mike Shula as the play caller for South Carolina. That's 13 and some change points. He asked me what Dow Loggins was in his last 4 leading into that. Well, that was 33.75. So that's a 20-point drop-off from that 4-game stretch to the ensuing 4-game stretch.
I want to be clear because I am old enough to remember when there was a lot of people who were not pleased with Dow Loggins.
Absolutely.
I just want to make sure we don't let that escape from don't let that get memory hold like it didn't happen.
No.
That happened.
It absolutely happened. Yeah,
right.
Old enough to remember that.
Yes.
But the last 4 games changed a lot of that perspective. It really took those 4 games for that narrative to really turn on Dow. Because then, at the beginning of the season, too, you struggled against some teams that you shouldn't struggle with, like Old Dominion. You scored only 3 points against Ole Miss, and at that point in the season, it felt like the offense was broken beyond repair. And then you had the 6-game winning streak, specifically those last 4 games where you were putting up over 33 points a game. And I firmly believe that's one of the reasons why Appalachian State saw him and said, you know what, that's our next head coach. And I find that to be fair. So let's compare certain parts of the offense from last season as a whole to what we're at so far in 2025. Passing yards, 2024, 223 per game. So far in 2025, we're at 193 per game. So that's a difference of 30 yards right there. Rushing yards in 2024, 184.4 overall rushing yards per game. In 2025, you're at 110. So that's a 74-yard difference on the ground. Points per game. In 2024, for the entire season on offense, I did subtract special teams and special teams touchdowns. You were at 29.5 points per game on offense. This year, subtracting punt return touchdowns, field goals I will count. Punt return touchdowns, defensive touchdowns, 13.7 points per game. That is well under half of what you had. Well, over half. Yards per play in 2024, 5.9. And this year you're at 5.2. So it's 0.7 yards per play differential. And then first downs per game. In 2024, you're picking up 19.6, so almost 20 first downs per game. This year, you're at 16.4, so a difference of over 3 first downs per game. I think you're pretty obvious, but I think when you break it down, the most glaring difference is just how different the run game is compared to last year. Now, passing game too. I mean, I think you have to be over 200 with a quarterback like that. You have to be over 200.
Again, this is why this is great information to have. But the bigger piece of information I need is, what are we trying to do? Because if you were to tell me that, hey man, we don't really run the ball like that. We like to get out there and gunsling it a little bit, and we want to throw the ball 50 times a game, and so our running game is not really what you thought it was. I'd be like, oh yeah, well that makes sense.
Why you would be minus 70 in yards per game. Yes.
No problem. But we don't know that. Or if you was to say, well, we don't have as many first downs per game because we're like a Vanderbilt style team. We don't run as many plays, therefore we don't have as many possessions, and that's how you can explain the numbers. So if I was to present these numbers to Mike Shula or Shane Beamer or Sean Elliott or whoever, what's the explanation? Is there any? Give me the best case scenario for why these numbers are different. I'm willing to listen.
Yeah,
but I need something to go with on here. I need something to hang on to. Give me something to help you. Help me help you.
Right.
Because right now it's tough.
Because when keeping with the theme of comparison here, what would you say the offense's identity was last year?
That's a great question. Well, Lenore's 16. 16 escaping, but they were able to. Dow liked to do a lot of the short crossing stuff with the tight ends. He liked to use the tight end as a safety valve. The RPO game was strong, and towards the end of the season, they started leaning heavily on design runs with Lenore's. Mm-hmm. It's almost like, and this might be a can of worms open, it's almost like Adal realized, oh, I'm calling plays in college. I'm not calling plays for Adam Gase anymore and the Dolphins, who were not good, or the Jets, who were not good.
A poor guy who had to call plays for that 2013 Titans team that won 2 games, and Jake Locker was his quarterback, and Zach Mettenberger.
Yeah, and so I say that and maybe put my Garnet goggles on again and say, maybe Mike Shula will come to that realization also. Like, this is not that. Maybe you need to call plays for this instead of that.
Yeah, or at least find something that you're really good at and hammer it home, and then it be a game of execution, right? What was the thing that Vince Lombardi used to always say about the Packers sweep? We're just going to run it, and you have to stop it. You can know it's still coming. You still have to stop it. And if you know it's coming and you still can't stop it, that's just because you're executing at such a high level. You have to be able to identify something that you execute really well in practice and that you've seen that you can execute in a game and really lean into that. And I think a lot of that is probably Lenore Sellers running the ball. Because at the end of last year, the biggest scoring outputs, we can even exclude Wofford because he scored 56 points. That can skew an average, right? I get it. But against Clemson, ran the ball really well. Against Missouri, his threat to run, I think, is what really helped a lot in that game. That was the game where he throws for 327. And a lot of that came on crossing routes. What were the 2 biggest gains in that Missouri game in the passing game? Crossing routes to Delvon Campbell. And he made some magic after the play, or after the catch, right? There are things that you can still take from last year that I think that can still be applicable for this year. But you have to be able to hone in on that identity. If you don't have that identity, then you're visibly figuring it out on the fly. That's not a good position to be in.
You don't want to be in that. And so that would be my question. What do we want to be? And how do we get there?
Yeah. And that gets to one of my favorite movie quotes ever. You seen The Iron Giant? Preston Thorne?
No, I hear that's a tearjerker, though.
Oh, Mike, you have to watch that movie. You have to.
Okay.
But the best line in that movie, you are who you choose to be.
Ooh.
It's a life motto for myself. A very impactful movie for a 6-year-old Elijah Campbell. Remember it to this day. Still watch the movie to this day. You have to watch it. If you haven't, you absolutely must. But that's us trying to figure out this offense's identity, comparing last year to this year. But what do we love in the world of football right now? Who are our team crushes? We'll tell you, and you can tell us yours too. 803-404-6100, Firehouse Subs text line or the AAA Heating Air phone line. Team Crush Tuesday, coming up next.
Press here for our friends at Absolute Glass, the premier glass company of the Midlands, offering auto, home, and business glass repair. So if your glass is damaged, shattered, cracked, or broken, they can handle the job. If it's a cracked windshield, that's no problem. They'll come out to your location and they'll replace it for you, usually for free, and they'll work directly with the insurance company to take away the headache. That's right. They'll come out to wherever you are, school, home, work, it does not matter. Absolute Glass will come out to you and take care of it for you. If you're at home looking to increase the value of your home, you can do that with new windows or mirrors, and Absolute Glass will take care of that for you too. Windows, mirrors, shower enclosures. Say it all the time. If you can see through it, Ray and Marianne at Absolute Glass can do it. So check them out online at AbsoluteGlassInc.com. That's online at AbsoluteGlassInc.com.
It's time to crush over some teams. Who over the weekend won us over? Because it's Team Crush Tuesday. And I think this weekend provided me with some doozy examples here. Now, Preston Thorne, I think I have an idea of who you're going to pick once again, because you love the tight end position. And the Iowa State Cyclones also love the tight end position.
That is a solid pick, but that is not going to be. I do have my eye on him. I do have an eye on him, but that's not going to be my pick.
Ooh.
However, like you said, if you're somebody who tells the coach to throw to the tight end, Iowa State is your squad.
40% of the team's targets go to the tight end. 40, almost half.
So if that's you, if that's what you're into, that might be the team for you.
If you're into that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. If you're into that sort of thing. I can't not do it, man. I can't do it, man. You beat Florida State last year the first game. You gave us our favorite quote ever, run the ball. You gave us that. You're up there.
Run the ball. Oh,
I love hearing
music.
It. You beat the Purple Pants. Brent Key and Georgia Tech, man.
Oh.
You got a warrior at quarterback. Is he a quarterback? I don't know.
I know he's a dog. I'll tell you that. I can tell you. I do know that about Georgia Tech.
And I forgot this. I don't know why I forgot this, but there are two former Gamecocks on the staff. Corey Peoples is the defensive back coach, and Byron Gerardo is one of the assistant strength coaches. So there is a Gamecock connection to that Georgia Tech staff.
Oh, I like that. See, multiple reasons to love Georgia Tech.
So Brent Key and them boys, I'm with you. The Rambling Wreck.
I feel pretty good about our AP poll game where we pick somebody who's not in it and has to finish in it.
Mm-hmm.
I think I've been playing this game 3 years now. I have yet to pick one that actually finished in the top 25. I think the streak might break this season. For me, starting off with Tulane. They won a revenge game. And in modern-day college football, it's not just, in the pros, if you trade a player, they go back and they play that old team, they beat them. It's a fun insert player here revenge game. Tulane had a team revenge game because Darian Mensah split when Duke decided to offer him $4 million to be their quarterback. Well, Darian Mensah and Duke came to New Orleans on Saturday and played against Tulane, and Tulane took it to them in that first half and held on to win 34-27. That was a Tulane Green Wave revenge game.
Coach also caught my eye a couple weeks ago. I said, perked up. They wanted to wear white to honor Katrina in remembrance of Katrina at home, and the other team decided that they did not want to let them.
Northwestern.
Northwestern. Come on.
Get out.
Northwestern decided they didn't want to let them, and John Summerall, right?
Yep.
John Summerall
That's
said,
a coaching carousel name to remember.
Yeah, he said, don't disrespect New Orleans. I was like,
And you know what they did in that game?
I like that.
Bludgeoned
Beat the tar out of them.
Northwestern.
It was
It
nice.
wasn't just like a close win. They beat the hell out of them
I heard
in
him
that
say,
game.
I was like, who's that? Okay.
Yeah, okay. You want to be that way? All right.
I like
and they go out there and just absolutely beat them up for 4 quarters. Now, you want to talk about what last year, Boise State UNLV was kind of the G6, or it was the G5 last year. The G6 game of the year that really kind of determined who was going to be playing in the college football playoff out of those ranks. Well, between South Florida, who already has a couple of really impressive wins on the resume, and Tulane, I wish I could tell you they're going to play, but they're not on the schedule. But they will play if everything holds in a conference title game.
Nice.
Which could be a game that has a ticket to the college football playoff on the line.
Okay. All right. That'd be a good one. Any other candidates you have for Team Crush Tuesday? Maybe people that's on the horizon. Maybe people want to pay attention to. I know we have to play them, but I keep telling y'all, hey, Oklahoma, John Mateer, if you're into wacky quarterbacks, it might be your squad.
Wild and wacky guy. There's a lot of entertainment value in watching John Mateer play, and that's definitely caught my eye. It made me watch Oklahoma Temple because of him. I caught some snaps of Oklahoma Temple because of him, but I put Texas A&M because that passing game's explosive.
Yeah, which you don't think of Mike Elko having an explosive anything as far as the offense is concerned.
No. He's the guy who wants to run the ball, and they still ran the ball pretty well against Notre Dame. They go to Notre Dame, a team that their entire, identity is rooted in how well they play defense and run the ball. But they lit up Notre Dame in that game, trying to pull up the specifics on that one because the numbers are astounding. One receiver specifically, 7 catches, 207 yards. Marcel Reed threw for 360 on the road at Notre Dame. Mario Craver, who caught 7 passes for 207 yards. Casey Concepcion was the big transfer portal guy that they got from NC State. That was like the big target. But he even had a great game, 4 catches for 82. But Mario Craver having 7 for 207 and Marcel Reed slinging the ball across the play, all over the place. That team is fun to watch. That is an offense that is next level. Mm-hmm. And then in the NFL, they're 2-0, led by Daniel Jones. The Indianapolis Colts are fun. And they've had the best collection of celebrations, touchdown or interception celebrations.
What's his name? Is his name Blue?
Blue. Love him.
Blue, part of the celebrations with the stomach. That was great.
That's hilarious.
That was great.
I find it hard to cheer against the Indianapolis Colts.
Me too.
We'll take some of your calls because we continue the reaction from the Vanderbilt game on Saturday. That's next to kick off hour number 3. Sticking with the theme of crushing on teams, the team at Mid-State Roofing is definitely one to crush on every single week, especially when it comes to protecting your home or business with a new roof or roof maintenance, because they excel in the roofing and waterproofing industry and have been doing it for over 30 years. There's a lot of things to like about Mid-State Roofing. It's the versatility, because it doesn't matter if it's high-rise hospitals or if the job is manufacturing to industrial. Mid-State Roofing is there to do the job and provide the bonded systems with that protective guarantee, something you're definitely looking for in your home. The versatility doesn't just stop with the type of buildings they work on. You can also call them after hours. If you do have an urgent need, they do have on-call technicians who are there to assist you at 803-356-1919. And, of course, they're always available during hours as well. 803-356-1919. You can always hit them up online at midstateroofing.com. And remember, if you have a leak, let Midstate Roofing take a peek. 803-356-1919. You can always hit them up online at midstateroofing.com. And remember, if you have a leak, let Midstate Roofing take a peek. 803-356-1919. You can always hit them up online at midstateroofing.com. And remember, if you have a leak, let Midstate Roofing take a peek.
Working on getting things cleaned up. North Springs Road at North Brickyard Road. Also Percival Road near Clemson Road. Two Notch at Alpine. And Woodbury Road near Augusta Highway. We're looking for a high today of 85. That's what we'll see tomorrow. Sunshine both days and a little bit more humid as the week continues. And looking for a high of 88 on Thursday, 90 on Friday. But starting off your morning, kind of like we have in recent days, it is 60 on 107.5 The Game.
Hour number 3 of the early game starts right now. I'm Elijah Campbell. He's Preston Thorne. She's Jen Jensen. We're continuing our discussion on South Carolina's 31-7 loss to Vanderbilt because it's Watch the Tape Tuesday. Sometimes you just need a little extra review of the game to see some things that you might have missed. It's almost kind of like watching Donnie Darko. But that one I had to watch like 20 times to be able to understand what that whole film was about. Well, we'll go ahead and start on our AAA Heating and Air phone lines because Richard has been waiting on the line. Richard, good morning. Welcome to the early game. We have Richard? Oh, no. Well, Richard, try calling back. So seems to be a little bit of a connection issue for you. So we'll go ahead and move on to Joe. And Joe has a Team Crush Tuesday candidate.
Hey, I ain't going nowhere. I'm going to wait. So listen, hey, Preston. Listen, Preston, man. You and I have a whole lot in common, man, because as soon as he brought up the crush, Georgia Tech came straight to my mind, Preston. Listen, the fact that they beat the upstate team was one. But then, man, Georgia Tech, you know what they're going to do, and they dare you to stop it, man. They come out and they say, okay, we're going to run the ball. What you going to do about it? And for the past 2 games they played, no one has been able to do anything about it. And if you guys look at their schedule, Georgia Tech might not lose another game, man. I mean, they may not lose a game. Their toughest game is against Georgia at the end of the year. Did you guys check the schedule out?
It's been a while since I've looked at it.
Check the schedule out, Elijah. Check it out. Check it out, man. I'm just going to talk a little bit about the Gamecock football team. I just think that they just need to let Lenore Sellers loose. Drop back and do what you do, man. I mean, forget all that. Whoever he's trying to make him be like, he just need to let Lenore Sellers be Lenore Sellers. Bottom line, man. Drop back, do whatever you do. Find the open guy. If you can't find him, break loose. He just needs to let him go. He needs to take whatever chains that he has locked down on him and let the man play football because he hasn't looked the same. He's not the same quarterback that he was last year when we seen us win those 6 games. That same quarterback that he's using right now wouldn't have won the game against the upstate team last year. That same quarterback that he's using right now wouldn't have won 6 games straight last year. You have to let the man play his game. Bottom line. And everything else is falling in place. You got to give everybody else confidence. So that's my opinion on that, man. Yeah, Preston, you and I have a lot in common. Outcast, Wu-Tang Clan, and Georgia Tech is our quest this morning, man. We batting 1,000, Preston. You guys have a good day, man.
I like it,
Good
Joe. I
stuff.
appreciate it. But and you really made me think about something when I think about Georgia Tech. Even when I think about that Vandy team that just came in here, the thing that they have in common is that they have quarterbacks with unique skill sets, and they have tailored their offensive systems to their guys.
Yes.
And what it feels like is that we've tried to make our quarterback fit into a system as opposed to making the system fit towards him.
Yeah,
That's just what,
to his skill set.
Right.
Which Lenore Sellers' skill set, when you're just talking athletically
and to be
and
clear,
with an arm,
he has more skill set than both of those dudes, than
Yes.
Pavia and
Haynes King.
Haynes King, for sure. But they are designed. It's designed for them. And that seems to be a difference right now.
And going back to this point on what Georgia Tech's schedule is: Temple, Wake Forest, Virginia Tech, Duke, Syracuse, NC State, Boston College, Pitt, and then Georgia. You know what? Joe might be onto something. Joe might be onto something. Back to the AAA Heating and Air phone lines. Ray is on the line. Ray, good morning. Welcome to the early game.
Good morning, Elijah. Good morning, Preston. Well, Elijah, I guess that Mike Shula will not be winning that coveted Frank Bowles Award at the end of the year.
I don't think so.
I wouldn't put any money on it. But I was thinking about things that are going on with our program, of course, and I tell you, a bad hire can really kill a coach and a program. Would you agree with that?
It can. It has that capability.
I mean, even not just a coordinator, but I've seen a bad position hire just ruin a program. But a bad coordinator can absolutely – a bad coordinator can lead a head coach to the unemployment line. But what I'm going to get at a couple other things. But with Lenoris, my son right now, President, he's going through a concussion protocol. And I, as a fan, of course I want Lenoris to play. But from his own good and his future and everything, I really think he should be set out at least 1 week, maybe 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, concussions you don't mess around with. I know they got all the doctors and everything like that. I'll just tell you, my son, we took him to the ER, and they have actually every hospital, so they have a concussion protocol team. So he went through that, and we even got him an appointment with a neurologist to make sure everything's good, and hopefully he's going to be out 2 weeks and he'll be back. But I got to thinking about, when Norris playing this week, from a selfish reason, of course, I'd want him to play, but for his own good, I think it would be better that he didn't play. And that's just my opinion.
Mm-hmm. But,
and also, and also what I wanted to throw in there, I know it was like yesterday when the Virginia Tech job came up. I've heard people say, well, there's no way Beamer's going to that. There's no way. They don't have the money. They don't have this. They don't have that. I would say, and Shane, of course, got played to the best, but I would say he's really got to strongly consider it because of two things. I mean, you always read the tea leaves of how things are going. And right now the tea leaves aren't so good here. And think about it. If he was to take that job, if it was offered to him, he would have all the time in the world to rebuild that program. I mean, that's something a head coach is always looking for is, especially if things, if the sea gets a little warm. And it could get warm here. I mean, I know we all love Shane Beamer, but, this season goes very south. Things could get warm. But I think it's something he really has to consider. I mean, it's his alma mater. It's where his father coached. His name is a legend there. And he'll be given all the time in the world to get that program straight. So it's some interesting times. We'll see what happens, guys. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, appreciate your call, Ray. Two things. One to the coaching staff thing. When he asked me, if a coaching hire can kind of derail a head coach, it can because coaching is also a team sport. I think one of the most underappreciated people in college athletics are the assistant coaches. Because a head coach can't do everything. You're the CEO, you're accountable for everything, but you can't do everything, right? Like there's a reason that GAs cut up the film. There's a reason that the assistant coaches, position coaches, spend so much one-on-one time in terms of helping with fundamentals, helping the development part of specific positions. Coaching is every bit of a team sport as the players playing on the field too. It takes a real coordinated effort to be able to optimize what your results are on the football field, and that's why they're so important. And then the second part, when it comes to Shane and the Virginia Tech job, I think one of the reasons why Ray thinks he would take it is one of the reasons why I don't think he will, is because at a place like Virginia Tech where his dad is a legend, is the greatest coach in the history of that program, and took them to heights they've never before been to, is the constant comparison. That can be tough. That's also a tough shadow to live in. And I think what Shane is doing just independently outside of that and carving his own way is maybe what I would guess a more attractive option for him personally. I know that's how it would be for me.
I just had a Varsity Blues moment. I don't want your life.
Applicable.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to that. And we'll see how it plays. I don't think you never say never, but I do think we are in as firm a position for him to stay than we've ever been here, as far as that is concerned. But you never say never. Money talks. opportunity talks. There's always the old Bear Bryant quote about, when mama calls you home, you got to go. There's always those. There's a lot. But me personally, I don't think that'll happen.
Yeah, I don't think so either, personally. We'll get to Terrence on the AAA Heating Air phone lines. Terrence, good morning. Welcome to the early game.
How are y'all, man?
Good. How are you?
Good, man. Hey, I just want to say, the guy that came on 2 calls ago, he was right about Lenore Sellers, man. It seems like ever since he acquired that NIL deal, he's definitely not the same guy that we experienced last year. And I believe, I'm a Gamecock fan. I've been a Gamecock fan since the chicken curse. So I'm going to say this. I've never seen money involved in any sport that things were just fair or it was just people played the game the same way they did as if money wasn't involved before that. I really think the NIL has changed the game, and it has allowed the politics to enter into the game. We saw that last year with the LSU game. It came to Willie B. We saw how many calls the refs made. We've seen how much money Kyron Lacey made last year and Gary Nussmeier, but none of our guys had NIL deals. And look at the outcome of the game. I really think that the NIL is changing the outcome of these players on the field. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, I totally disagree with that statement, and I don't think that's not factually correct as far as the LSU game, because we have several players who are who are compensated well. They had players that were compensated well, and I don't think that had anything to do with it.
That would be my question is, Terrence, did you think Kyle Kennard came here for free?
Yeah. I mean,
of course not. But he didn't get paid what he deserved at all at that left-end position either.
Yeah, I mean, like
he had to go out. He had to go prove himself out there every week.
Well, it wasn't like he presented an opportunity for sure.
Right.
He got paid what he was evaluated at with the time, and if he would have come back another year, his price tag would have been a lot higher.
Yeah.
I don't agree with that. The money has always been involved in college football, and the idea that NIL has changed it, people are watching more, players are playing more. Carson Beck, who got paid a tremendous amount of money, is having a better season than he's ever had with Georgia right now. So people are still playing well.
Yeah, and I appreciate the call, Terrence. And there are some instances where that is true. I'll say there are some instances where maybe somebody gets what they want and they feel complacent. I think that's a human nature part of not just football, life as well. It gets down to, do you really love football, right? If you really love football and being great at football is the thing that drives you, you can still make at the college level, let's just say $4 million, because that's what reportedly Carson Beck got to go to Miami. It's reportedly what Darian Mensah got to go to Duke. If you really love football, you can still stay motivated because your motivating factor is being great. And there are some instances in the NFL too where some guys get that big contract and they never perform to it. In some instances where some guys do and perform, right? Like Patrick Mahomes' numbers aren't what they were earlier, but he's still good enough to win them games. And I don't think it's because Patrick Mahomes is worse. He's had to play differently because of how teams have defended against him. That's a whole other conversation. But he got paid a contract that over its term was worth $500 million. Right. And he still went out and since that contract was signed, won 2 Super Bowls.
Underpaid.
I mean, when someone's that good, I don't know if there is a reasonable market for it. If somebody is that good, it certainly changes some things.
Also, Chiefs 0-2.
They are. And for the first time in his career, he is 0-2 to start a season as a starter.
See how that goes.
Yeah. I mean, now he's got some adversity he's having to work through too. But, I mean, when it comes to, I guess, what players make and what the ensuing performance is, I don't know if there's going to be data to be able to support it because it is such a broad blanket statement. But I don't think Lenore Sellers' struggles this year I would also attribute to finances. I think there are valid football reasons why the offense isn't very good right now. And I think Lenore Sellers' usage is probably a bigger part of that equation than really anything else. Saturday night, not a banner night for the message boards in Gamecock land. A lot of people very unpleased. Rightfully so. You lose 31-7 to Vanderbilt. There will be some righteous anger involved. How did they respond? And also, there's a team in college football that was the most unhinged on the message boards. It may or may not have been the team that South Carolina opened up the season with. We'll read you some of the best when the early game continues.
You know, they say perfection is a journey. Well, our journey led us to Carolina Stone Craftsman just outside Columbia in shape, and we went to them knowing that we needed some countertops for some bathroom cabinetry. And we talked to them and, got to understand that they understand that any kitchen or bath project can really be a significant investment, and that's why they make it a priority to deliver the most affordable granite, marble, and quartz, and still deliver the highest quality countertops and service that you expect. Visited their showroom. We're highly impressed by the showroom. Asked a lot of questions. They answered those questions and helped us make an informed decision. And I'm telling you, if you are looking for any type of countertops for your kitchen or bath, I do encourage you to reach out to Carolina Stone Craftsman. Be sure to tell them that Jen Jensen sent you. They are family owned and operated. Carolina Stone Craftsman. They are just beyond Columbia and Chapin, and I assure you they are beyond your expectations. Check them out online, carolinastonecraftsman.com. North Springs Road at North Brickyard Road. Still working that earlier slowdown, trying to get that accident cleared away. Percival Road near Clemson Road and Two Notch at Alpine also still slowing down traffic. 85 today and tomorrow, sunny skies both days. 88 on Thursday with a few clouds mixed in. And 90 for Friday. Looks like the weekend will be pretty good as well. We're just kind of up in the humidity factor just a little bit. Currently 61 on 107.5 The Game.
Week 3 of the college football season provided us with some incredible stuff for Message Board Mayhem. And the best of the best came from VT Scoop. Because, well, I don't know if you noticed, but Brent Pry is no longer the head coach at Virginia Tech.
Mm-hmm. R.I.P. Brent Pry. Coaching career at Virginia Tech.
But a big addition to one Preston Thorne's early game underdog challenge. Point total.
I marked that one. I clocked it. I looked at it.
You clocked that one.
I saw it, and I was like, that might be something to keep an eye on.
And sure enough, halftime rolls around. Old Dominion was up 28-0 at Virginia Tech, and they went on to win 45-26. These were some of the posts during halftime on VT Scoop. One says the headline is "Fire Witt in Public During the Next Commercial Break." Whit Babcock, the athletic director of Virginia Tech. And then proceeds with a post that says, "Then Pry during halftime."
Okay.
But publicly do it to the athletic director first, and then fire Brent Pry in the locker room.
All right, just walk him out and just say, Brent Pry is no longer with us.
I am not one who likes to publicly advocate for somebody getting fired at halftime of a game, of any game. Fully understand that games are 4 quarters long, but if I were to ever make an exception to that personal rule, I think Virginia Tech's situation where they're down 28-0 to Old Dominion at home at halftime after they dropped those first 2 games in a year that's supposed to be a prove-it year for Brent Pry, probably would have been.
We saw that here. I mean, when things were going bad, and then App State and Eli walked into here and mopped up Will Muschamp, that was people were like, oh, no, that's it. We can't do that again.
No.
It's over.
It's over at that point. There are some games you cannot come back
from. You can't come back from that. And that was in state. You can't do that.
Yeah, Brent Pry had that. You can't come back from this half, not game, half, right? Because you were not going to erase that 28-point deficit at half with the way they were playing. There's also another one that says, I think this is truly rock bottom. Not sure under Few or Justin Fuente it ever was this bad. I don't think it was. And it was pretty bad under Fuente. It was really bad. And then another comment, VT is now no better than the 3rd best team in Virginia right now. You're definitely not the first because you did lose to an in-state opponent.
Yeah, Virginia not having a great run at it in football because UVA is not great either.
Yeah. And I think when UVA plays them this year, they're going to kill them. I think that one is going to be a bloodbath. An interim head coach, unless they turn it around. I mean, it is pretty bleak for Virginia Tech. So that's what they were dealing with on Saturday night. Now, Friday night, UCLA, who didn't spend the $4 million that Nico Iamaleava probably wanted or was looking to get from Tennessee, They give him a lot. I think that reported number was like in the 2s, if I remember correctly. But UCLA got beat by New Mexico, another one clocked by the early game underdog challenge. Team WIS and Nick Harvey clocked that one. But they didn't just lose to New Mexico. They got beat 35-10 at home New Mexico. And that's not their first loss against a Mountain West team this year. It is their second loss to a Mountain West conference opponent this season. And then add to it, the first game against Utah at home was not particularly close. I think that one was 43-10. Well, on a UCLA message board, Bruin Gold
says,
Jarman must be investigated. Another athletic director put on the spot here. Says, absolutely no one gives a running backs coach a head coaching position with a $7.8 million buyout in year 2 and pays him off early. Is Martin Jarman getting kickbacks from Foster? This is where we're getting to conspiracy theory territory. His bank accounts need to be subpoenaed.
Oh, okay.
Something is absolutely rotten here. Deshaun Foster did get fired after that 35-10 loss.
I'd like to mention, if you pay attention and you listen to us, and we'll bring it back tomorrow, but both of those coaches were on the grill as far as who's cooked. We put them on the grill. We knew they were cooking. We knew they were being on the grill, so we're pretty accurate on that.
And it blew up. Like the food in there didn't just get like burnt and like look like charcoal after a bit. It blew up. The grill exploded over the weekend.
Yeah, those are two programs that are going to have to – there's going to be very interesting hires. There's going to be the coaching carousel that goes around. Obviously, Virginia Tech, to me, is more appealing than UCLA. But I don't know if either one of them – I don't know. We'll see.
In terms of coaching hot seats, Billy Napier, you'd also say, not just – the seat's not only hot, it's also scorching.
Mm-hmm.
I think we could say that they're cooked. They're 1-2, including a loss at home to a South Florida team that played Miami and got beaten up, got their doors blown off in that game. Well, on Swamp 24/7, they have a solution. I only want Lane Kiffin, Nick Saban, or Urban Meyer. I'm here to tell you right now, you will be greatly disappointed. And the post goes on to say, period, or just drop the program literally and become a basketball-only school.
Whoa.
I also can't stand all you Lane Kiffin haters and want to sue the Bull Gators banning him from the coaching hire. Seriously, bleep you.
Whoa. Okay.
That one escalated as the post went on. But I found my favorite one over the weekend because I love an absurd idea. The crazier the idea, the more you have my attention. Notre Dame got carved up by Texas A&M at home. The Notre Dame defense also got carved up by Miami. Notre Dame's defense is taking a big step back from what it was last season. Well, a lot of people aren't a fan of the current defensive coordinator over there right now. And this post... the screenshot doesn't allow you to see the name of the message board this is on, but it leads off with this. Is Dick LeBeau available? Chris Ash is the current defensive coordinator. And the post reads, would LeBeau or some other, quote, old salt defensive mind be able to come in and mentor Ash, Chris Ash, the defensive coordinator, and the defensive staff? Might help steady the ship. Well, in terms of asking if Dick LeBeau is available, according to Wikipedia, Dick LeBeau is 88 years old. I don't think he's available.
He could probably still draw him up, man. He could probably still get on the board and draw him up. Hey, listen, Dick LeBeau's a legend. If you grew up watching football in the 90s, you remember those Pittsburgh Steelers, the zone blitz. He was the one that was, credited with sort of creating or at least bringing that to the mainstream, fire zones and all that stuff. So I'm sure he can get on the board and draw it up. That seems like a reach. I think he would be the only one. You have the only board that he's on. So,
yeah.
We'll see.
You want to know when his rookie season playing in the NFL was?
Dick LeBeau?
Yeah.
Pre-Super Bowl.
Definitely. 1959. He played for the original iteration of the Cleveland Browns. In 1959. He was playing football professionally before the Kennedy assassination.
Check this out, though. Check this out. Ready? Want to bring it full circle? The blitz that knocked Norris out of that game. Fire blitz, zone blitz.
From the linebacker.
So thank you, Dick LeBeau, for creating the zone blitz and getting our quarterback injured.
The butterfly effect on Dick LeBeau innovating the zone blitz has rippled throughout the football world forever.
It came all the way to Williams-Brice.
You know what? I think we can now blame Dick LeBeau for this.
I think,
Exactly.
and I think now we need to send like a mean text and mean tweet. And
Not a winner. Don't for not creating the zone blitz.
Not a winner, Dick LeBeau. Yeah, we will keep that one in mind. That was Message Board Mayhem. Coming up, my man Michael Sauls from the state. It's Better Call Sauls. He joins us to talk about his thoughts on Carolina's 31-7 loss to Vanderbilt over the weekend, and so much more from this team. That's next here in the early game. Now, thankfully, we're not offensive coordinators that have to stay up at night preparing for zone blitzes and the havoc that Dick LeBeau's invention can reap upon you. But normal people like us also might have tax issues. There might be some issues that you've dealt with that millions of Americans have dealt with over the years. And if that's the case for you, if you fit into that category, John Ecton and his team at the Ecton Law Firm are here for you. Let the stresses of taxes be taken care of by the Ecton Law Firm and set up a free consultation today. Yes, a free consultation can be set up if you just give them a call at 803-771-9800. Let their local team that's been resolving income or business tax issues for good handle your case. And that's what the best part, too. They can handle both income or business tax issues. No task is too tall for the Ecton Law Firm. Again, 803-771-9800 or hit them up at ectonlawfirm.com. That's ECTONlawfirm.com.
Coon Road at Old Tama Road. We do have a report of an accident there. Still working on Percival Road near Clemson and Two Notch Road at Alpine Road. Good news, other accidents. Gosh, okay, yeah. Struggling this morning. Other things have been cleared. As far as your forecast goes, we're looking for sunny skies, 85, and looking for that today and tomorrow, 88 on Thursday, 90 on Friday, still holding steady at 60 currently on 107.5 The Game.
It's time to phone a friend, because right now we bring on, from the state newspaper, Michael Sauls. It's the Better Call Sauls segment of the show. Michael, good morning. Appreciate you hanging out with us here on the early game.
Good morning. I appreciate you letting me hang out with you guys on the early game.
Always a permanent invite for Michael Sauls to join the early game. But, Michael, we got to get to this game on Saturday, because it got ugly the more it went on once Lenore Sellers went down. An already small lead turned into a big lead in the second half. The offense crosses the 50 7 times. They get into the 35 5 times. They score 1 touchdown. The defense had a hard time corralling Vanderbilt in that second half. There are a lot of things you can point to for this answer here, but if you had to say what the most alarming part of that 31-7 loss was, it would be...
I think, honestly, how the offense looked just a little stagnant without Lenoris. Like, I know that they were able to move the ball a little bit, but I don't know if that's just indicative of Luke Doty not playing quarterback for 3 years or what, but I think it was the way that when Lenoris went out, it felt like there was no juice in the stadium. There was no juice on the sideline. So I think that was a little concerning, and obviously we'll see how things shake out depending on his status for the rest of the way.
And that kind of leads me to this question of the status of Lenoris. Concussion, he's in concussion protocol. What do you know about maybe some of the specifics of concussion protocol and the likelihood that Lenoris can suit up against Missouri?
I know as much as you do, Elijah. I think we will all find out together what specifically is going on with Lenoris. Maybe Shane will give us a hint today at his press conference, but beyond that, I assume we will all find out together on the first SEC injury report of the week.
Yep, which will be coming out soon enough. And you mentioned Luke Doty having to play that last drive of the first half. The entire second half, is there a likelihood that if Lenoris can't play that we see one of Air Noland or Cutter Woods, or do you think it is Luke Doty till the wheels fall off?
I imagine at some point, and this is just pure speculation and me thinking, I would imagine at some point, if you get down to Missouri and you're not in the game anymore, you give maybe Air Noland or Cutter Woods a shot. But I think just strictly based off of the way that, Shane talks about Luke Doty and the people in that program talk about Luke Doty, I would imagine it's Luke Doty until the wheels fall off, so to speak. I mean, he wasn't bad. I mean, shoot, he threw 27 passes, and I'm pretty sure that's more passes than he's thrown in the last 30-something games of his career. And outside of turning the ball over those couple times that he did, I mean, he was serviceable in terms of this is a dude who's a 6-year, hadn't really played quarterback in 3 years, and coming in for a dude who was a Heisman contender. So I would imagine at some point you've got to give other guys a look, but I think as long as Doty's in there, they'll have a shot to get something going on offense.
Yeah, but getting something going on offense is probably not going to beat Missouri. With this idea of Luke Doty, what did Luke Doty do to win this this QB2 competition in your mind, or what do you know?
In my mind, I have to believe it's just because he's been here for so long. I mean, he's got a knowledge of how things are run in this program, and I mean, Aaron Nolan and Cutter are still young, literally by age, but also just kind of in this system and in this program at Carolina. So I don't necessarily think it's an indictment on Air and Cutter's talent or ability. I more so think there's probably just a comfort level with Luke Doty and a comfort level with his kind of baseline of knowledge of this offense and how things are run in that program.
When Lenoris did play, you saw some good, and then you saw some frustrating stuff, right? The interception when you're in the red zone, frustrating. You have to be better in the red zone. But that first drive was very similar to what we saw South Carolina do in their opening drive against Virginia Tech. So when Lenoris does play, we still see the offense struggle at times once they kind of go off script. What are some of the big issues that you've been able to identify when you watch this team after their first drive of the game, and what might be attributing to a lot of those struggles?
I think just the offense as a whole, it really just hadn't been able to put, just a consistent drive together, I feel like. And it might be, one drive, it's, hey, the offensive line kind of struggles. The next drive, it's Lenoris maybe takes a sack or two that he didn't, or maybe there's a chance for him to escape out of the pocket and he doesn't, or the next drive is it's not being able to run the ball. So I don't think there's any one major thing for me right now that has really stood out, because I think in these past 3 games, you can kind of pinpoint tiny certain areas or themes maybe throughout these games that have caused the offense to not, fully just be hitting on all cylinders. But I think going into the Vanderbilt game, I was most concerned about the run game. Just the fact that they hadn't really been able to do that consistently, and the way that they looked against SC State from a running perspective, I was worried about that. But I think the fact that Faison was able to make the most out of those 15 carries was encouraging. Granted, I think the whole offense kind of flamed out in the second half there. So we'll see if I think after this Missouri game, if there's still, red flags in the run game or the offensive line and everything, then I'll hit the panic button. But I'm typically a little bit slower to hit the panic button on things than other people.
And then defensively, too, the second half, Vanderbilt was able to do what they do, and that's methodically drive up and down the field, create long drives that melt 5+ minutes off of the clock. What did you see from Carolina defensively that may have led to Vanderbilt being as successful as they were in the second half?
Yeah, they just couldn't get off the field for the life of them. Vanderbilt was phenomenal on third down. Like you mentioned, they were able to create these long drives and just suck time off the clock. I think Shane mentioned that, it was as simple as missed tackles were a problem for the defense. And then, honestly, there are a couple times, and I wrote about this yesterday. I know that the roughing the passer calls were arguably not great calls, and that's kind of more of a mental mistake than a straight up, X's and O's mistake on defense. But both of those roughing the passer calls, especially the big one in the third quarter, came in spots where it's third and long, and South Carolina has a chance to get a stop that it needs and get the ball back to his offense. And, and maybe there's a world where they create punts right there, and then South Carolina scores, and this game's a different game than the one we're talking about now. But I think they couldn't get off the field, and a couple mental mistakes late ended up making it to where the defense didn't play all too well.
And when it comes to the Missouri game, how much is the defense going to have to improve to you to be able to keep this team in the game? Because we know Missouri, for the first 3 weeks of the year, can score some points.
Yeah, I think the defense is going to need to play better than it did this past week, obviously. I still think this is a pretty good defense. Granted, we have learned that Virginia Tech is probably not as good as we thought they might have been 3 weeks ago. But SC State's a good FCS team, I guess. But no, I'm not ready to hit the panic button on the defense. I do think they need to get off the field. I think that was kind of the eyebrow raiser from this Vandy game. So I don't know. Like you said, this Missouri team is really good on offense. They're scoring a lot of points. So they're going to need to just kind of improve just a little bit from this Vandy game if they're going to be able to keep South Carolina in the game, just in case that offense does struggle again, or if Lenoris can't go.
Good stuff there from Michael Sauls at the State Newspaper. Michael, appreciate you joining us as always. You're a winner, good sir.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate you.
Appreciate you.
Michael Sauls is a winner. We'll give our winners for today's show coming up next.
Guys, feeling like you lost your edge, brain fog got you struggling to focus, or maybe you're working out and not seeing the results that you're used to. Don't just live with it. Reclaim your drive, your energy, and your focus at the Men's Clinic. Dr. Dan Boatnight will get to the bottom of it. This isn't some faceless online program. Dr. Boatnight personally tailors your treatment program based on your labs and systems. And at the Men's Clinic, you'll find a non-threatening, comfortable environment that's open to hearing your concerns. And here's the best part. Your initial consultation with Dr. Boatnight and a T-level check is absolutely free. And you have nothing to lose and everything to gain. So don't wait. Call them at 803-875-MENS. That's 803-875-MENS. Or find them online at mensclinicsc.com. That's mensclinicsc.com. And tell them you heard it on the game.
Before we get to our winners of today's show, we'll head back to the AAA Heating and Air phone lines one last time for today's program. We'll get to John, who's on the line. John, good morning. Welcome to the early game.
Good morning. I'd just like to make about 3 or 4 quick points, and I'll make them very quick. First of all, I'm not a big fan of Shula's play calling, but a lot of it has to do with the offensive line, which has been terrible. I mean, when Rattler was here, you think about what we could have done if we had an offensive line, and it's just been a constant problem with Beamer since he's been here, and why he doesn't get new coaches, I don't understand. And as far as Sellers, I think Illinois showed kind of how to defend him, and a lot of his plays last year was him avoiding sacks. You know, his big plays, some of them were called, but a lot of them was him just running after somebody trying to sack him. And this year, you know, he got a safety. He's got sacked a couple of times. He's just making bad reads like Pavia. You know, you can say what you want to, but he made all the right reads when he needed to. At Virginia Tech, he made all the right reads. And Sellers, he's a great athlete, superhuman. But a lot of times he leaves a lot of points on the board, on the field, because he can't make reads. But Illinois showed how to defend him. And now people but I'm sure the coaches aren't saying, sit back there and take a safety or sit and take a sack. He's just not making the same. He just can't make the same plays all the time, avoiding sacks. And I appreciate your time.
Yeah, awesome. Appreciate
John,
your call,
man.
Yeah.
Great call. Call back more often. We always appreciate solid calls. Yeah, thank you.
Especially considering I think John is leaning towards the sacks can be a quarterback stat sometimes too. And I think that's one thing that has to get better when Lenoris is healthy and playing, that he's got to be better at not turning the pressures that he does get into sacks. Again, top 20 in the country when it comes to pressure to sack percentage. So John's a winner. It's time to give Mike Singletary what he wants. What do you want, Coach?
Cannot coach with it. Can't do it. I want winners. Winners. Winners.
So now's the time to give it to him. Our winners for today's show, Preston Thorne.
Much maligned for the last year or so, was definitely on the struggle bus when it came to offensive line. Talk about the offensive line needing to improve. Well, Casey Henry has improved. And for the third game in a row, he has graded out the highest of the offensive linemen. So if that is something to look for, if you're putting your Garnet goggles on, that is something that you can look for as far as improvement is concerned. Casey Henry, another winner.
Mine also comes from the Garnet goggles segment, but not just because he played well. Not a lot of guys played well on Saturday, but you're going to need this guy to do what he did in larger volume if Lenoris can't play against Missouri. That's Rasul Faison. 15 carries, 75 yards, a touchdown. Once you get into playing Missouri, if the game is competitive, you're going to have to be able to run the ball, because Missouri's going to. Ahmad Hardy may or may not have ran for 250 against Louisiana on Saturday. I don't care if you're playing Louisiana, Louisiana State, Louisiana Tech, Louisiana Monroe, McNeese State, Nicholls State, don't care. Running for 250 is an accomplishment. Yeah. And Ahmad Hardy ran up and down that field. If you want to win the way you want to, which is by running the ball and stopping the run, you're going to need Rasul Faison to look more like he did in the first half of that game on Saturday.
We didn't plan this, but we're going to act like we did, because my next set of winners are the interior defensive tackles. Graded out the highest on the defense. Nick Barrett, Gabriel Brownlow-Dendy, and Monkel Goodwin all were fairly good. A little bit better than average, and the reason why that's important is because they were the question marks coming into the season, and they all have played well for pretty much 3 games in a row now, and they are going to be key to stopping that running game coming up this weekend.
The more later in the week when we get into Missouri prep, it's going to be centered around how well can you stop Ahmad Hardy, right, who is looking like the best transfer portal acquisition in the entire SEC right now, along with John Mateer. Right, like those have been the impact transfers in this league right now. If you want to accomplish the goals that you have set out in front of you, and you want to be able to win this game and get back on the right track, those fellas on the interior are going to have to keep doing what they're doing in terms of eating up space and stopping the interior run game. Outside of Carolina, my winner for today's show, because he not only got a lot of love from you on Team Crush Tuesday, but this guy got a lot of love in the Firehouse Subs text line, Haynes King. Don't know if he's a good quarterback. But what do we know, Preston Thorne?
He's a dog.
He's a dog. That guy, maybe one of the more impressive, showing heart players I think I have seen at the collegiate level.
Bruised, bloodied, and battered.
Lawrence from Irmo says, when Haynes King starts looking like a dead man walking on the field, you know he has at least 60 more yards in him. At least 60.
He's going to power up like the Ultimate Warrior. Here I come.
I mean, the definition of maxing it out on the field each and every game. That's all for today's show. The Extra Point, Tyler Head and Jack Veltry's next. And always a winner on our show, not just today, but every day. My friends over at Midstate Roofing, because anytime you've shown high-level consistency for 3 decades, especially in something important as roofing and waterproofing, yeah, you're going to be an established winner on this program and in your community, because Midstate Roofing provides that proper advice, service, and results to the specific needs of your facility. Not every facility is built the same. Some have different needs than others, and Midstate Roofing is good at fitting that roof to those specific needs. And it doesn't matter if